Welcome back to another episode of Elevator Dialogue here on the Unkle Junior Network. I am the Uncle Junior, and with me today is the mighty Wolf Pack. We got none other than Antoine Christopher, we got Dustin, we got poor man Dr. Phil, and we got Dr. Thomas Rashad Easley. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing this evening?
Outstanding.
Yep, bless doctor.
Yeah,
Doing
man.
well.
Hey, I'm glad to see everybody. Glad that you guys were able to take some time out of y'all busy schedules to come and hang out over here tonight. So I really appreciate all of that. Appreciate everybody who's watching from home in the chat. If you're watching on a different platform, all of those different things. We're just going to jump right into it. Tonight we're going to be talking about navigating the future of work, remote, hybrid, or in person. All of us over here are over the age of 30, close to 40, if not over 40. And, we have seen technology and we have seen things change over time. We have seen people, back in the day working in the steel mills or working in a plant, all the way up until now to where people are choosing to work more from home. So, with that being said, I just want to jump right out there. What are you guys' thoughts overall when it comes to working remote versus a hybrid type deal, or either in person? Like, nothing's off the table. Wherever y'all want to start, that's where we're going to start tonight.
People just lazy today. It's lazy. It's just lazy. Nobody wants to get ready to go to work. Nobody wants to drive. Nobody wants to commute. Right?
So all right, so what do you mean by people are lazy?
People don't put effort into how they look anymore. It's easier to be disrespectful than respectful. It takes less work.
Okay, we're talking, but like when it comes to working,
when it comes to work, you can have your desk looking any way. All you care about is that little square box, but you can be nasty on the bottom. You don't have to be presentable to nothing and to no one.
But is that more of like your opinion, or do you have like some evidence that that's what people are doing? Because my desk is pretty neat.
But look how people dress to go to work today. Just look at the average person, how they dress. It's not like before. Remember before you had casual Fridays?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? And the casual Fridays, respectful Tuesdays. You had those sayings. You did, right? And you cared about.
So how much of that?
You used to put your clothes out the night before. You used to get it ready.
How much of it is that people are lazy versus people have evolved or people have changed and times have changed to whereas everybody doesn't wear slacks and a collared shirt and a tie to on an everyday basis with dress shoes. You know what I mean?
I just find technology and communication. Technology has taken away communication. Technology has taken away you don't have to be polite anymore. You can send a text. You don't have to put effort into writing a letter.
But let's bring it back to the workforce.
And workplace. Nobody really talks at work anymore. They send a text from their cubicle or during lunch.
So are you for like remote work? Are you for hybrid work? Or are you for in-person work?
I prefer to go somewhere. I prefer to go to the bank, right? Now banking, everybody wants you to do online. They don't even want to see you. They refer you all the time to, you could check on it online. You could go check it out online. It should be in your email. They don't want to talk no more. They don't want to have that people come into my office, sit down, I'll talk to you about a loan. Go online and apply for a loan. They don't have that rapport anymore.
But you don't work in the building.
I don't work in a building, but I still like to go to a bank. I still like to get out.
So is your desk and is your area nasty?
No, my studio is completely clean.
So but then you debunked your own first point when you talked about it.
Listen, that's anecdotal. That's me. That's me.
Martin, we said we were going to go easy on him tonight.
Okay. I'm back.
You guys are asking me about me. I'm anecdotal. I'm a neat freak. All right? I'm a neat freak. You can come anywhere you want in my place. It's always going to be clean.
Antoine, can I jump in here real quick? You mind if I jump in, bud?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so as somebody that does work remote and work hybrid, because I own my own companies and I can do that, what's going to happen is there's going to have to be a massive switch in the pay structure, right? If people want to work hybridly, we can't compensate them for 40 hours a week. So what we're going to have to go to, and what's going to change the tide on this, where people are going to want to go back to work, is because it's going to be performative based at these big companies and things like that, where the amount of hours logged on the computer is going to be your time, right? The amount of calls. So call centers have, during COVID, they outsourced, they set people up at home. Some of my big distributors actually gave up large amounts of leased real estate around the country and sent everybody to work from home. After COVID, they didn't bring everybody back. They left everybody at home because they still had a productive workforce in that scenario, because a lot of these people are commission based in this sales environment. So having a sales staff that's a phone-based sales staff working remotely, I don't see an issue with that because it's performative based. If you have like a software coding teams that are contracted to do these things, we don't need to bring them into a place that I'm renting at $35 a square foot per year, where I'm going to pack them in a $20,000 square foot space when they can do the same thing from their laptops on their patio right here. So yeah, it's going to be performative based as time goes on. You will see a pushback, I think, where a lot of people will want to come back to work because they want to be able to ride that time clock as opposed to that productive time period. But something that companies are going to notice is that it's the top 20% that are carrying the 100% of these companies that are running, these software developers, your phone log people, your things like this. So you're going to see a massive shrink in sales force, or in production force, and a massive increase in pay based on production hours. So it's kind of like asking to be fired up front. They're just saying it. They're just saying the quiet part out loud moving forward. So I'm all for it, because what will happen, like in any other scenario, the cream will rise to the top, and you'll realize the amount of personnel as a business. Looking at this from both somebody that works remotely and a business owner, you'll see who's productive and who isn't, and you'll realize how many less people you actually need to meet the same goals for your clients or for your bottom line.
COVID just gave people a chance to clean house too. It gave you a chance to clean house, like who to bring back and who not to, who's really important, who's not. Gave you an excuse to do that.
And not working in a big company that did a lot of remote work during COVID, I don't know of any of that to be true, or what's true and what's not true in that scenario. I'm subject to the dispense of headlines like everybody else. But when Elon Musk took over Twitter, he said in numerous interviews he fired 80% of the sales force, and Twitter still work, or X. I'm sorry, don't cancel me. X is still working. So with 80% of the sales force gone, however, he did put the stipulation that if you're not willing to come back to the office, we don't need you. So it's kind of Musk isn't exactly a good model for what I'm saying, but RSR, or my one big distributor, they gave up hundreds or thousands of square feet of offices in each region. They're broken down into 7 regions across the United States, and they sent everybody home, unleashed that property, gave up that stuff, increased their bottom line. That all became profit by not having to pay those leases in those locations. I don't have a lease, and a commercial lease. If any of you guys have ever done it, we always, in the industry, we call it a triple boner, right? Because on a commercial lease, I'm responsible for the lease of the property. I'm responsible for the maintenance of the property, and I also have to pay the taxes of the property. So the owner of the property is only responsible to pay the mortgage on the property. They don't pay to fix it. They don't pay the state for the taxes. They don't pay any of it. And this triple sum lease is widely accepted in the commercial market. So if you get bored one night on YouTube or Rumble, whichever you prefer, do a deep dive in the collapse of commercial real estate. That's a big thing that places are talking about.
Absolutely, there's a lot of real estate. I mean, listen, COVID hit a lot of real estate property. That just, I mean, the company saved in overhead with that. They did. Well, all those vehicles are empty. They saved a big ton of money with that.
Something that happened in the last 20 years that a lot of people aren't talking about when it comes to the real estate thing. There's an there's an investment group or an investment product that you can buy through the OTC or through your brokerage account. It's called a REIT, REIT, which is a real estate equity investment trust. Those things are written to where they have to basically spend out like 97% of the money that they make every year, right? And they can only retain like 3 to 5% for what they basically cost of operations of that organization, right? So it's what started out where they were buying like commercial property and things like that. Well, they ran out of commercial property to buy. So then they started buying like marinas and things on lakes, and they're buying all this stuff in 2020, or starting in 2020 and continuing to today. They've been buying residential homes to then turn those things back onto the rental market because there's no other property or real estate for them to buy. So things of that in and itself is kind of alarming, because you basically have uh, cafe investors or casual investors that are taking their investment dollars and are giving it to these large management funds like BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, that manage these multi-billion-dollar funds that are basically going around and buying up your neighborhoods. They're buying up your single family homes. And to add insult to injury, the federal government went back and said, hey, we don't have enough houses fast. There's not enough land in the major cities that people want to live in. So they incentivized apartment complexes in surrounding areas around large cities throughout the United States, right? So they're not developing mass wildlands or mass swaths of nowhere, Mississippi. No, they're going directly to Biloxi, and they're just building and manufacturing low income and medium income apartments around those towns that they can pack people into. Which, by the way, right outside of my neighborhood, they just recently built an apartment complex. It cost more than my mortgage to live in a 2-bedroom apartment in this complex, not 200 yards from where I'm sitting right now. That's a direct result of the real estate equity investment trust. And I'm going to stop there. Let somebody else talk. I've said too much already.
I appreciate that. Now, when we get back to the work and remote and hybrid and in person.
What now? Are you asking like which one do we prefer? Like, or what
Well,
are we?
anything about, I just want to make sure that we get back to the topic. We're talking
Mhm.
about navigating the future of work and where people are going to be working at and where you may want to work at.
Mhm.
How it was when we grew up. We had dad and grandpa and them, they all worked in the steel mill or at the local plant. And now, you know what I mean? People are choosing to work from home or even a hybrid, different things. I just kind of wanted everybody thoughts on the workforce and the future of it going forward.
Well, I definitely think some of it is depending on the kind of workforce. Like what Brother Dustin was saying. Like if
Mhm.
you're in it, like say for example, like if you're in like a construction space, if you're like with a building and creating medicines, it's like you're still going to see more people physically out in those places. And I do think that when you're out with people, there's more engagement. Usually there's more conversation. People can find ways to not really connect now on these work sites. But it's like if I'm there, I have to see you, I have to talk to you, I have to adopt, and do a number of things. I won't lie, I actually prefer that. Okay, but I'll say this though. But I do like working remote, especially if your work is primarily like, say, not cerebral, but like if I'm primarily just thinking and I'm creating content or something. I can see why working at home is probably going to be easier because it's less of a distraction. If you're disciplined enough, you know how to keep crunching out numbers or writing and produce. And then for those people who like a mix, I can say, okay, I can see how the hybrid works. The challenge that I have with the way everything is going with AI and with automation is that while all of that good stuff, like what I just said, is happening, in some ways, jobs are also, I think, naturally being canceled at the same time too. The way the technology is continuing to evolve, and so I think that those industries or people who can rely and know how to perform and show that performance, nothing. And so I'm with Dustin on that. No, it's just like nothing. There's no substitute for hard work. There's no substitute for being great at what it is that you do. You know what I'm saying? People are going to see it and they're going to want it. but I'm also with Antoine. I do believe that the way that we're going as a civilization or as a society, you can say what came first, the cart or the horse, is because people are lazy, or is the way we're going contributing to people becoming lazy? Because I mean, I just look. I've worked construction. I'm forester, so I've been outside carrying tools, cutting trees down, running from bears. I've worked in grocery stores. I've been a sacker. You know what I'm saying? I've been at the cash register. I've worked at phone company climbing poles. And I've been with the Forest Service, with the government, checking campsites, and just doing a number of things. But what I've also been is an academic who's watched people be lazy, because that environment can make you lazy. Look, Garfield, look, me and you met in that environment. And if all you got to do is write, type, talk some ideas, it's a lot easier than if you telling somebody, look, and you're a leader. I know at least three of you, are military. That ain't the same as leading people, protecting lives, and having to be disciplined, getting up, and you understand what I'm saying? But there are people who take that energy into it. Like when I met you, that's where I know that you still hold on to it. But the majority of people in that space, that's not what they are. It's a cushion. People get there and they get comfortable. And in my opinion, in spaces like that, what Antoine is saying is, to me, like the end result is people becoming more lazy, more it's like they don't put the same effort in it. I mean, even though, I believe I look neat, right? And I come from the era of, you can't look a certain way on the job, you fix it, you cut your hair. I mean, I know we got brothers in the military, this way that you look. But I'm about being free in that regard. But man, look, I'm still old school. Don't come in my place if you don't look presentable. Don't. And I'm not going to come to you in a presentable way. I don't have on a t-shirt, but I'm not sitting up here with my arms out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not sitting there looking disgusted. So I'm just saying, I'm with you, Antoine. I'm with your brother Dustin, and that's just why I am. I prefer to work with people in person.
Man, you brought up the military, because I agree wholeheartedly with what you guys are saying. Even in the military, when, like on Fort Hood, Fort Cavazos, whatever they want to call it, when we would have ice storm, snowstorm, they would shut posts down. Me being medical, working at the hospital, I was essential personnel. So I had to find a way to work. Everybody else could. And then, I would say, oh, they just being lazy, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, whether it be your dress, your attire, your the way you carry yourself, leadership has to dictate whether people are lazy. If they allow lazy people to stay on the payroll, it's on the leaders. And that's why I tell people, I don't go to McDonald's, because I understand the leadership is lax. When you come in, you get an attitude. You're not good. It's not like you going to Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is it's a certain standard. I don't even like the chicken, but it's a certain standard that I like and that I'll accept. But when we're talking about how the workforce is going into the future, I think you adapt and overcome. If you don't rise to the top, these computers, they doing everything from cleaning hotel rooms. I seen the thing going in and out of hotel rooms cleaning. So that menial job that where people used to go and get that, and they can pay them peanuts, those peanuts are now going to a computer, going to AI. And it's things like that that'll make people sit up there and think, if I don't put in a conscious effort to do something about it, I'm going to be left behind. So yeah, AI is taking over with a lot of jobs, and a lot of jobs that we're talking about. I don't think it's laziness, because if I don't have to have a building or go to a building, waste gas, because they're not paying you per diem, and the cost of living is rising, but your paycheck ain't rising. Like, I talk to my sister every day, and she's in the UAW, and UAW, they trying to strike because these people that are making $30 million are saying, y'all not worth $40 an hour. And I'm all for UAWs and any unionized positions that want to make sure that the little man actually makes a conscious effort to be able to provide for his family, her family, where they can, move forward and not just be struggling to get by.
Yeah. I mean, I get everything y'all saying. I get the laziness. I also think that um if I have a business and I have a company or something, and all my employees can work from home, and like Antoine said, you got the little box. If they're producing, they doing what they got to do. I don't really care what their personal life is like. I'm there as long as they doing what I need them to do on a day-to-day basis. They can be up there in a shirt and tie and some freaking drawers on up underneath. I don't care what they got going on under the desk. As long as what they got going on in this 4x4 box or whatever like this, I don't care. You know what I mean? Because I don't pay them and I don't care about their situation. Will it breed more lazy people? Maybe. Like I understand Dr. Easley's point too. You know what I mean? The whole chicken or the egg. I get it. I think it's some of both of that. I mean, I think it's on both sides of it. I do think there are more people that have gotten lazy. I also think, like the other people's point, certain jobs, like Roland said, certain jobs, and I think Dustin said it too, certain jobs have gone away. Them jobs not there no more. Like no one's, you know, really, like how many people work at newspaper plants now? Remember when we was little, they had newspaper routes. You know what I mean? What happened to all the newspaper boys? They ain't around no more. Every now and then you see a couple of nice neighborhoods or whatever like that that have a paper route, but you see a Sunday paper or something, the next door, the neighborhood next to me, they get papers. And I was like, they still get papers, but most people don't get newspapers. So all of those jobs phased out, you know. So it's like there certain jobs are going to keep phasing out, and like someone said, you got to change, and if not, you're going to get left behind.
When's the last time you went through the DVD section or the CD section at a major retailer?
Dude, I don't got a DVD player.
I don't even know what a DVD player is anymore.
And,
Right,
exactly.
all the music shops went out of business.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
Roland, real
You
quick.
remember Napster?
Roland, you there? Think about this abstractly about you're having to go to work in the snow, right? I asked somebody one time why it is that you send in some but not all, right? He said they get rid of the all so that to clear the way for the some to get to work.
Oh,
Hey,
So the unimportant people stay home, right? I don't need you to sweep the motor pool today. I don't need you to mop the rain, right? You guys stay home. Anybody that has real work to do, come to work, right? And then Martin, on the remote work thing and the productivity for your employees, think about it this way, right? We've had a lot of meritocracy, or not meritocracy stuff. We've had a lot of like, I am, so therefore I deserve. And I'm not going to isolate any groups, right? But there's been a lot in the last 20 years of I am, so therefore I deserve. We need to have this, 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 and this. What the work from home stuff is going to do is going to create a performative or merit-based pay structure and system, right? So it doesn't matter what creed, gender, race, color, whatever it is that you want to throw out there, that we have to have these things that exist, right? It's just going to come down to who's performing the best. I need 5. I have 15. I'm going to take the top 5. And I don't see you because all you are is employee number 3658479, right? And 8472. That's all we're looking at. I don't know what you look like. I've never seen you, but I have 15 of you right now. I need 5, and I'm going to keep the top 5. So then it becomes a numbers-based system, right? So we're having a deviation right now from what's expected, but I think there's going to be a massive and swift course correction when some of these companies start figuring out how to base pay structures not on hours but performance. And obviously, there's some jobs you can't work remotely, right? I can't change tires remotely.
Mechanics,
I can't build trucks remotely. I can't fly space shuttles remotely. There's things that I can't do remotely. But for the growing number of things that are able to be remote or hybrid, I think you're going to see more of that. But I also think that you're going to see a massive shrinkage in that workforce.
So I think here shortly, next 3, 5, maybe even 10 years from now, we're going to see a huge increase in like those old jobs, those old blue collar jobs, all those mechanics and laborers, not laborers, but like electricians and stuff like this. I think we're going to see an uptick of that in the next few years. For some reason, I don't know if I'm seeing certain things or what. But I just think that, you know, like you said, like certain jobs you can't work remotely. Like you got to take your car somewhere to get it fixed. You know what I mean? Someone has to come out and check your AC and your heat. Someone has to come out and cut your grass. Certain jobs are never going to be able to go away, and certain jobs you always going to be in person.
So my thing for my age group, I'm almost 40, just to put it out there. I know I have a lot of acquaintances that are attorneys, and I have a lot of acquaintances that are skilled trades, right? Like electricians, pipe fitters, plumbers, right? All of my skilled trades guys, they own boats, they own multiple cars, they own lake houses, right? None of the attorneys that haven't, been in like some highly specialized career field that I know have those things. Maybe it's something that they don't want, they don't need it, but they have significantly longer work hours and they're not showing in the same capacity, right? And again, that's just one anecdote. I'm just saying, but like an entry level plumber, can charge $300 for a call out, and people will just pay that, right? If you want to give me
Especially if
$300,
they can come out the same day.
yeah,
I'll pay somebody $300. You can come out today. If I call, Roto-Rooter and they like, yeah, we can get somebody out there, in 3 days. I'm just like, man, Roscoe or somebody else, they come out today. Let's do it. Even if it costs $300, because I need get this toilet flushed.
The Roto-Rooter's got every town or every house and every derivable direction that's a potential customer, right? And the attorney that's charging $300 an hour, which you're not getting that outside of New York City, but the attorneys that's charging $300 an hour, he might see 3 clients that day. Whereas the guy with the Roto-Rooter, he's done hit 15 houses before lunch, right? And he might call it early and just knock out 5 more before he calls at the end of the day. And
all you gotta do is drive in the neighborhood. I've had people to come to my house in my neighborhood that I've had people work on my house and do certain things because I saw them in my neighborhood. And I walked up to them and I was like, hey, do you do X, Y, and Z? And they like, yep. I'm like, all right, give me your card. Next thing you know, I got somebody to cut my trees down. This thing you know, I got somebody doing this.
Yep. The guys that did my landscaping, they said, so we were gone that weekend. We went down to the lake and they came out and did the work or whatnot. He said, well, working on my house was the best thing that he'd ever done. He handed out more business cards in my front yard than he'd handed out in the last month and a half.
The dude that cut my trees down gave me a deal. He said, I gave you a good deal. He said, because I ain't never been over here. And he said, I know when I cut your trees down, about 5 more people going to hire me. And that next weekend, actually the next day, so he cut somebody else's trees down in the neighborhood, but he charged them, but he didn't charge me. He already knew. He knew the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. These computer-based jobs, these transcribers, medical billers, coders, all that stuff, those jobs are going to disappear. AI is going to, because I can go in and like, we can write script with AI right now. We can write entire programs. You can write computer, you can create websites. You can do all kinds of stuff with AI. When all I have to say is, hey, I'm going to copy paste this thing in. I need you to do whatever it is that you do to it. And ChatGPT is going to be like, you got it, bro. And boom, I'm done. So now rather than having 300 people, like this companies are paying for transcribing when you can run a video through AI and it can pick up on punctuation. It can pick up on dialect in certain languages, the word interchangeability. It's a language performer, right? Or transformer rather. And it can do that now in its infancy. And this thing's only been I say infancy. This thing's not even a teenager yet. AI started when Elon Musk and a handful of other guys created open AI, and they started letting these computers talk to one another and then talk to humans to learn how to talk more like a human. That's infinite and endless in the things that you can do with it. So you got one person to input an idea, and then the AI can do whatever it needs to do from there.
Yeah.
So remote jobs will go away, but there will be the championed few that will get to stay home and work from their computer. But it's going to be high performers, and it's going to be people that know how to manipulate and do the things that they need to do to stay in that high chair. But It's not going to be everybody, and there's going to be a lot of people going to look to pick up shovels and hammers.
Hey, that may be where that swing come from.
That's what I was talking about. It will snap
Yeah.
back hard.
Yeah. So with that being said, how do you think remote, hybrid, and in-person work models differ in terms of flexibility, productivity, and work-life balance? I would just start with this. I'll go first. I think I would just talk about the work-life balance. I remember during COVID, a lot of people were talking about, everybody's bad and, people are, being in solitude and can't be by themselves and, everybody's depressed and stuff like this. I was the totally opposite. You know what I mean? I enjoyed the pandemic, after, being in the military for 20 years, retiring in 2017, and then the pandemic hitting in 19, it was like, I was able to breathe. I was able to be at home all day. Like I'm a homebody. I enjoy being at home. You know what I mean? I can have plenty of hobbies. I'm always occupied with doing something. So for me, it gave me more of an opportunity to be at home. I enjoyed it. I loved it. You know what I mean? So I know in terms of work-life balance, the the woman that I'm with, we have an understanding. So like when I come up here and I work, she's fine with being downstairs doing her own thing. So, but we also make sure that we spend time with each other, so we have that we had that work life balance even during the pandemic, even after the pandemic and stuff like this. So like for me, I could work remote. I could work from home and be with totally fine and wouldn't have the distractions. My kids are grown right now. My youngest one is 18. So I have I don't have little ones running around the house yelling and screaming and different things like that. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely understand the work-life balance. And I also understand I see people who struggle with that. They'll come on, you see them on podcasts or you see them trying to work and they can't get 5 minutes, you know what I mean, to be by themselves or anything like that. Not saying there's anything wrong with wanting to spend time with your children, but what I'm saying is that sometimes they can't break away even for a few minutes to do things. So but yeah, I'll let somebody else tap in.
I like when, to me, I think that the pandemic, uh, it kind of, I think that it, in some ways, it kind of brought out, like either some of the challenging areas that people had or the strengths that people had. So like what you said, you have hobbies. Another thing is that you're disciplined, right? Of course, having a, positive or a good, give take relationship, but really like the flexibility, productivity, and work life balance is, in my opinion, is still all dependent on mostly on the individual. A lot of times people are trying to put it on the job, and so that's the reason why I said what the pandemic did was it kind of brought out that in people. So, like for example, like me, like you, Uncle Junior, I thrived in the pandemic. I had a good time. I enjoyed it. I didn't mind being with my family. I didn't mind, being at home. The truth is, I wasn't always at home. I was always out doing something. But that was the thing. I knew how to go outside. I knew how to grow gardens. I know how to grow food. I try to take care of myself, so I'm very active. But not only am I very active, I'm very productive. I have art. Like I said, I have three businesses. I write, I create. I know how to use my hands. I know how to use my body to get things done. And then I know how to sit calmly and sit quietly. One of the things that I noticed that happened, in my opinion, with this, when you look at remote or hybrid, is it's challenging for people if they don't know how to cut work off, even if they were there in person. Because now what happens is the work is coming in the house. And if you already don't have a balance with how to leave work at work, coming in the house for a lot of people, it's a benefit right at first, right? Yeah, I get to work at home and I get to do this. But the problem is your home becomes work because you don't know how to manage your time. And so that's one of the things that I've seen is how people have actually kind of in my opinion, one would say they took advantage of it, but now what I see is that it's now taking advantage of them.
I, like Dr. Easley, did not participate in the COVID pandemic. I worked the entire time. One of the companies that we own is a government contractor, so we were exempt from COVID shutdowns. And yeah, so I just put all of my businesses under that umbrella, and then we ran, and I never stopped. So other than the limitations on the availability of fast food and restaurants that I could go to, we did not participate in COVID. Uh, the interest, or in the interest of the hybrid conversation, my hybrid work is in direct result of my lack of balance early on in the foundation of my companies, right? I was working 6, 7 days a week. You know, people would have my wife or my daughter would have to force me away from the computer or away from the phones. And that was unfair to them. So in repayment, you know, before too much time or too far is gone, too much is lost. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to work remotely. I'll work hybrid or whatever, but I'm only going to participate in work between these parameters. And outside of those parameters, that my time and attention belongs to you.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that's why I was about to jump in. Flexibility, I think it helps some. It depends on what you have going on, your family structure, whether or not you have small children. Because I know that some people went from sitting their kids at school at home on a computer to actually homeschooling their children. Because I don't know about you, but I've wasted hour after hour on the job just because I was there trying to find something to do. So when you wasting, I don't know, time is money. And when you at home, I think, as Dustin said, it's more performance based. And if I can gauge what you do by your productivity, then I know whether I should keep you around or not. Because I know a lot of people will go to work. I know in the military, I used to tell people, I'm home more than I'm chilling, not home, but chilling more than I'm working, unless we have a mission, unless we have something to do, especially when I was in the line unit. Because I'm in the line unit, but I'm a medic. And then I'm not just a medic, I'm in charge of the medic. So all I got to do is maneuver, make people go where they need to be, make a couple meetings, and then I can be on the golf course or something.
Yeah.
But I think when you have situations where you have to take care of little children or older people, you have to think about things like, okay, do I want to put myself in danger of catching something that I'm going to bring home to my family? Do I want to be out in the environment? Like the grocery stores used to be shut down. And me, I'm just walking around like I'm good, because, I wasn't worried about it. I'm like, okay, I caught it, dealt with it, and I was good. But I wasn't one of those people walking around with 7 masks on and all this other stuff. No, I'm like, because I didn't look at it the same. And I'm also a conspiracy theorist but to heart. So I'm going to leave that alone.
You already got Dustin smiling.
Yeah.
As soon as you said that.
I like it when they stop becoming conspiracy theories and it's just next week's headline.
What do you think, Antoine?
Listen, I'm going to stick by what I said. Listen, technology, yes, it's it's made people easier to be at home, and yes, it's product based at home. I get all that, but I'm still the guy that likes to go to like, when you pick up the phone and you want to speak to somebody, now it's all automated, and you're like, Jesus Christmas, and you're hitting 0, and it's like, first give me it tells you the same thing, give me the information first so I can see who to send you to, and then you're still waiting, and then when you send it to that person, you're still waiting, and then when you get that person, oh, you mean this person? I'm just one to talk. I just want to hear somebody. I like going to the bank. I like interacting with that person about my money. Yes, I could do the other stuff online and all that, but I feel that, like I said, I just feel that people are more rude today with technology. Their verbal skills are gone. They're losing all their verbal skills. It's taking away a lot from the interaction and how people communicate as human beings. Like I said, it takes less effort to be rude than it does to be nice.
But that's why.
Have they closed any bank branches around you since?
Yeah, 2020? Two of them. Now I got to go further because they don't need. They don't need them. They really don't, because everything's online. And this bank now is starting to send me online. And I'm like, whoo, okay. I mean, I don't mind doing the online thing, but I feel sorry for the elderly people that they don't have, they're not up to speed with all that stuff.
And a lot of time when you call someone, most of these places are going to be based in Asia somewhere, or you're going to get somebody where they don't understand you, you don't understand
India.
them. India, yeah. And it's like, okay,
So
it's a big language barrier.
Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say to the elderly, though. I'm going to push back on this. I'm going to push back on Antoine about the elderly and technology. All right. I have some neighbors. I think they're 80 and 84 years old. They have iPhones. They play games, Apple Watches, all of it, tablets, everything. So, and they're at 80 and 84. So think about how much technology they didn't have when they was growing up. You know what I mean? Black and white TVs, all of those things to what they have right now. And they got it. So when I see young people that are pushing back against technology, I don't understand it. Like you can, I think someone kind of said it, or you either jump on board or you're gonna have a hard time because it ain't going nowhere. It's just evolution. It's just things change, things progress, things evolve. You can be mad at the system and you can want to go to the ATM, go to the bank and go see somebody. In the future, it may not be there.
No, it's not going to be there. You know,
like you said, you having to go farther now.
No, I have to go farther now. And you know what?
I ain't been in the bank in 20 years.
People are less healthier today, right?
Yeah, USAA.
They're not walking.
Oh, you got USAA?
It's all the way 2 hours in San Antonio.
Exactly. Me and Rolling got USA. Dustin, you got USAA?
What is that?
I do. My personal accounts are through USAA.
USAA. It's a bank.
I don't know where a bank
military.
I don't know.
They don't really have branches. Every now and then they'll pop up one for a year or two, then it'll close down. And then that's it. But like I haven't banked in a bank, went to a bank over 20 years, man.
No, but it's the one in front of is the USAA in front of the Walmart in Fayetteville?
I don't think it's still there no more.
Is it there anymore?
Oh, no, I think it's only there for because remember they had another one on Skybo. It was only there and then it shut down.
Yeah,
we talking.
But you guys have to admit you're seeing even doctors are even doing it now. They're telling you log on to their Zoom and they'll give you an evaluation and talk to you. What? No, you can't feel my skin from over there. I mean, what do you want me to describe the lesion?
Take a picture of it now. You take a picture of it and send it in.
I mean, I just find that it's like I said, it's benefiting the companies, but it's not benefiting the people as much.
But but like someone said earlier, some people are pricing themselves out of jobs too.
That's true.
I different.
Change is different. Like, listen, the pandemic didn't hurt me at all. I'm always at home drawing. Didn't hurt me.
I went to AT&T today.
You went to AT&T?
Yeah, because my phone is cracked. And, for the insurance, and they say call the people, and they say they will come to you. So I had to set up an appointment online, and they are coming to my house Friday to fix my phone. $29.
I think that's gonna be more in the future too, is people being able to provide remote services.
Barbers,
barbers, mechanics.
Yeah,
barbers really did a lot during the pandemic. I know a bunch of people that was paying barbers to come to their house and get their haircut. Bro, I'm telling you, bro, you think people was going the whole pandemic without getting their freaking locks retwisted? Without getting a lineup? Nah, brothers wasn't having that. Somebody coming to the house. Somebody, we getting our haircut.
Hey, Martin, I recently saw an advertisement for a mobile vehicle lift. It's like rides around on a trailer. You basically like pull up, this thing extends out, drops down, platforms out or whatever. You pull forward, car comes in, lifts up, all your tools and everything are on the trailer already in the toolboxes. But you can literally drive up into somebody's, in front of somebody's house, throw their car up in the air, change the oil, do all that stuff, rotate tires, if you're bringing new tires. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Mobile mechanics. You're going to have guys pulling up into places where people actually have to work and start knocking that stuff out in the parking lot.
And I would be on board because I'm going to tell you why. I found this out the hard way. I don't know why I didn't know. but I take my car in the shop, probably doing a song or something like that. Take my truck in, and I set an appointment. 8 a.m. Got my appointment. Drop the car off like I ain't worried about it. 4:30 in the afternoon, like 30 minutes before they close, I'm like, hey, I'm calling them. Hey, man, what's up with my truck? They like, we, it ain't done, but I'm gonna be ready tomorrow. I'm like, hold up, I had an appointment. He like, nah, the appointment just to get your truck in the shop.
Yeah,
I
your
was like,
appointment was just to
what
drop
kind
it
of
off.
fast, awkward stuff is that? Like,
Yeah.
so I found out this summer that making an appointment at the dealership means just getting it in there, but there ain't no guarantee it's gonna get done. Cause I'm like, okay, when I make an appointment at 8 o'clock at the barbershop, yeah, I know he probably double booked, and I might have to wait to 8:30. You know what I'm saying? I get that. But however, I ain't waiting till the next day.
Yeah. Oh, and that's going to be true for a lot of different things. Like your 8 o'clock appointment at the doctor's office is just for you to show up and fill out paperwork.
Yep, exactly. Exactly, man.
You fill it all
With,
online.
with few exception for like if you're meeting with somebody directly, I don't want that's not a fair blanket thing. Like if you're supposed to sit down and talk with somebody for a consultation, it's true. But if they say, my toe hurts, I need to talk to a doctor, and they're like, okay, be here at 8 a.m. and do paperwork. It's like, we're gonna let you sit around till 4:30 and try to get you in to see somebody. Welcome to the VA medical system.
That's sad for the V. I mean, I want to change the subject, but man,
Let me say this about the VA. This is what the VA needs to be: an insurance company and not a medical service provider, right? Kick all of those people back out, sell all those things off to public interest, right? And the VA operates like Humana and not an actual service provider, because they don't pay doctors well enough, so you don't get the best doctors. They don't pay nurses well enough compared to what they can make in the outside market. Just get rid of that. Apply all that money that you're giving to the VA and all the stuff that you're wasting on the VA police departments and the VA vehicles and the VA service folks. Send all those people back out to private practice and make the VA an insurance policy.
What you got, Roland?
See, I think with the VA, I think some things are good, and I'm agreeing that overall it needs an overhaul. But I think that's a whole money thing. That's pay grades above me when it comes to who's saying where money goes, because I think it's a lot of it is a money grab, because I know people that work for the VA and are high GS level, and they work home. They just got to come in one day a week, so they're hybrid, and they get paid to sit by the phone, and they get paid 70, 80, 90, 100 some $1,000 a year. But when it comes to the doctors and all that, yeah, any specialty care, I don't go through the VA. And I tell them, no, I'm going, like, I go to the VA for the primary care so she can say, okay, here go your medications and stuff.
Yeah.
But for my heart, my back, my legs, my head, and all, send me, I'm going here. And you can ask for it.
Like that, though. I didn't know the services like that.
Go on to usajobs.com and look what they pay an LPN, right? It's like a GS9, right? Whereas you get an LPN out in the public service or whatever, or as a traveling nurse, right? Which is still a big thing, right? Like a traveling nurse as an LPN can go to some small clinic out in nowhere, Nebraska, and make $100 an hour for every hour she's in nowhere, Nebraska, or depending on who.
Wow.
Whereas if I'm going to work for the VA, I'm going to have to work overtime. I'm going to work this. I'm going to work that. Oh, by the way, I'm a GS9. I get shift differential and everything else. And I just brought home a whopping $62,000 for the last 12 months of my life. No, you're not getting the best people, right? A doctor I'm done. I'm sorry. Another
Antoine,
episode.
I got a question for
episode.
Antoine. Antoine, how long do you think if I call the VA and make an appointment, if I actually get through to somebody, to make an appointment, how far out do you think it would take to get an appointment, like an eye exam, or not an eye exam, what's another routine thing, Coach? I mean, Roland.
Well, I just set up an eye exam. I set up at the beginning of this month. I set up an eye exam.
And when is your appointment?
In November.
Oh my
You got a
goodness.
good one. You got an early one. You got a
Yeah.
fast one.
It's in November.
Why is it like that?
Because
many
you
people.
have, so many people and not enough. They need to say, okay, we're gonna send these people off to other facilities and specialties, but instead they want you to. They say, hey, they ain't got nothing but time. They can sit around and wait.
Mm-hmm.
So let me get this straight. The VA hospital is for the veterans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
All
what
veterans.
okay, and
All veterans.
that's what really makes me upset because I'm for the veterans, right? I'm not going to get into the politics of why you joined, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that for the veterans, I really believe like I'm able to draw for the sacrifices you made. That arm you lost is what gave me I could just flick a switch and lights on. You should be able to walk in, you should be able to come back into this society and say, feed me, clothe me, and give me shelter. No questions asked. You should be able to walk into a hospital because you became a doctor because of the sacrifices I made. You're treating my leg and able to treat my leg because I lost it defending this country. I think they should have a card that they present above everybody else when it comes to medical because they teach you how to turn it on, but they don't teach you how to turn it off. And a lot of them come back wounded mentally. And then I just get sad when I see a VA guy a guy from the army or whatever forces on this homeless and talking to himself. And I'm like, this guy's still got his army jacket on. Obviously he served. And it's just really sickening to me. Really sickening to me. And I feel for them because they shouldn't be in this position. Right? Because they want you to stand in that front line. The commercials are great. Become this, become that, get an education, fly jets, this. But at the end of the day, when you come home, you're just like a regular guy with nothing. And it's really saddens to me. That's all I'm going to say on that. But they should be able to walk into any hospital and go to the front of the line, period, for what they did. And they're not. They're treated like garbage. I mean, especially in medical care, really. Like like I said, they teach you how to turn it off, turn it on, but they don't teach you how to turn it off. And when time comes to turning it off, when it really matters to be back with your family, you're worse off than when you left. It's
Roland,
like,
you remember back in the day when Sergeant Major used to get special treatment? Remember Sergeant Major, you go to clothing sales or something like this, Sergeant Major automatically go to the front. If somebody, hey, go ahead, Sergeant Major, go ahead, Sergeant Major. You go TA 50, all that stuff. Hey, go ahead, Sergeant Major. Like I remember that's how it was when I came in, like the first time in '94. But like by the time I got out of the military, I still did stuff like that. You see privates walking around like them jokers barely got up, standing pray rest. I'm just like, bro, I used to be hot as fish grease. See that stuff.
But
But
that's a whole dynamic of how the military system has changed, and
yeah,
that's a whole other show. But
bro,
yeah,
I seen a dude on TV today had a full beard, had it lined up. It looked better than mine, lined up and everything, smooth.
but part of that they used to lie to us and say it was because of the
The pro mask.
mask. Yeah, they about the mask and all that. But it's about not only hygiene but about control and about mental control. And you want everybody to look the same. I don't need you over here. You got your long beard. You worried about this, that, and the other. And it's about making everybody form to be the same.
do you guys agree with? I'm just curious, as veterans, do you guys agree with me with what I'm saying, or I'm just far off?
Yes. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
You're. Let's clear up. So we don't put false information out there. When you get into rural areas, they have what's called CBOCs, which are smaller. They're community-based outpatient clinics, right? If the CBOCs can't take you, they will approve you to go out of network, right? So there is a certain element of that where people are getting good care because they're able to see people outside of the VA network and things like that. So it's not a blanket like you can only be served at the VA. What I was saying in my perfect dreamland world is that the VA would completely stop running hospitals and in their entirety, dump that money into an insurance policy that would then pay other hospitals and other corporate based things to actually provide services, which would then again would backfill those hospitals that they closed because they'd open new ones based on the new customer base and so on and so forth. It would work itself out. It's a thing.
Hey, real quick, to your point about your VA and stuff like that. So it's different. So if you are retired and like 100% or something like that, you get those services where you can go out. So, but if you're not, like my wife is not 100%, so she don't get to outsource some of her things. Certain things she can only go to the VA for. Now, luckily, we have private insurance, so she gets to go and do those other things. But that's the difference too. It's like, and that's Antoine is like why it takes so long is because if you're not 100%, then you don't get to outsource sometimes and go to different things. You know
What
what
do you
I'm
think
saying?
100%? You getting 100%?
What's that?
100% is a disability rating based
Yeah.
on it, and it's not like you're 100% disabled because you had part of your head blown off.
Yeah.
They have a baseline comparison,
Combination.
right? So like you entered the military at 18, you left the military at 28,
38,
right?
48, whatever.
38, 48, whatever. Based on your physical condition, as compared to an aggregate of the entire population at that age group, where you should be with flexibility, with your hearing levels, with your vision, with your skin conditions, with your
Your
whatever,
mental. Yep.
your mental status, as they're evaluating you on your way out, they adjust your disability based on each one of these categories that you've made claims against as to how you would compare to somebody who had never served, a healthy person who had never served, and your height and weight category, right? So that's how they determine your disability. Anything over like 10% or 20%, I think, pays something. But
Yeah.
if you get a disability rating, like say you get a disability rating for your left knee, but not your right knee, right? You have private insurance outside of the VA, but the VA has said that 20% of your knee is our problem. So you can only go to the VA for your, what I say, left knee or right knee, whatever. The one that I said,
Right.
that's the one you can go back to the VA for healthcare for, but not the other.
And it's
Unless-
also a combination. So you might get 20% for your left knee, 20% for your elbow. Now you're at 40%. Your back, they may throw in another 50%. Now you're at 90%.
Well, no. That math,
No.
your math ain't right.
Well, it's
No,
not
the math
correct
doesn't-
me then.
the math doesn't work like that. So like you might be 20% elbow, 20% knee, and you've got a 22% disability rating, right?
Yeah.
Or
Okay. Yeah.
so, or you might be like 15% knee, 12% this, 2% that, 41% this, and then they run it across the board where not a single thing that you have is above 20 or is above 50%. But combine those all up or whatever, you've got a 230% disability rating. You're only getting 100. Or combined
Yeah.
disability at 230%, they're only going to give you 100.
That's
Right?
just, you see, that's what I'm saying, Dustin. You're giving them 100% of your body.
Oh, I know, and we're not. We're
coming back
Antoine,
and they're
Antoine,
compartmentalizing you. You know,
Oh,
it's like and I'm like, why would I join then? Like, why would I make a sacrifice like that if I know when I get back, you guys are just going to cut me up in pieces and see what works, what doesn't, and give me what's left? Throw me to
that's
this.
Why that's why your recruiting pool is 18 to 22.
Yeah, man.
And it's not all bad. I mean, how many other people can retire at 20 years and retire at 20 years and get a check for however long, what to you, 65, whatever it is, and it switches over. But yes, that's like me. I'm retired, but I'm also 100% disabled. So, and I was medically retired at the same time. So my money is different. I don't pay taxes on any of my money. So my money and when you medically retire, your VA rating dictates your military retirement also. So now it's like, okay, you go 100% over here, boom, it's a match. So it's like, okay, you make decent money. It depends. Now, a lot of people didn't do 20 years. They may have had issues and gotten out. And like Dustin was saying, your knee was hurt. So now only thing you go there for is your knee. I can go for whatever. I get free dental. Everybody else got to pay for dental. I get free dental and whatever. I can just go.
Yeah. So that's the other side of it. At least at the end of the day, if you do retire and you do get jacked up, at least your insurance and stuff like that is going to be cared for, whether or not you believe that the service that you get from the VA is good or not. Real quick, hey, I want to give a shout out to some people in the chat for being here. Appreciate my mom being here tonight, my wife being here tonight. Real Bravado Network, shout out to him. He always over here showing support and different things like this. I appreciate him. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget the Empowering Perspective podcast. They will be live. We will be live. I won't be here this Friday, but I'll be back the next Friday. Roland's over there. Empowering Perspective podcast with Coach Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you hadn't already done so, go over there, like, share, and subscribe to that platform. And that's it, man. But I did wanted to hit this comment up here because
Hey,
we're
Martin,
talking about hybrid.
Real quick, Antoine, we talked about the histories right before, and these guys had mentioned how privates don't treat sergeant majors with respect in certain places. The very first time they closed Fort Rucker, or what, I don't know what they're calling it now. It was something before it was Fort Rucker, but it was back in the 50s, right? When they closed Fort Rucker, everybody that was there, they did not ride in vehicles to Fort Benning. They marched from basically Daleville, Alabama, to what is Fort Benning, Georgia. I can't remember the name. Then Columbus, Georgia. They marched there several hundred miles. Not ride, not anything. You should look that up. It's pretty interesting story.
That up. I just
Crazy
difference in troops.
I just can't believe I could still walk downtown LA right here and see a homeless vet and just feel for him and go, dude, you sacrifice and look how they're treating you. I don't care what excuse they're giving you. Like, just to have you be there with your little army jacket and the same bag you carried all your clothes in coming back and you're sleeping on it. Okay, you got mental illness, you can't get a job. The government, you should not be on the street, man. You paid the ultimate price, your mind, and you're on the street, and the government just drives by you every day. If anything, they'll tell you to move. You're taking up space. But yet the commercials promote this great life, and it doesn't add up to me.
No argument from a large portion of the population.
A large portion is also, you have people who did things where they were self-inflicted, whether they were alcoholics or drug abusers. And I'm not talking about because of war. I'm talking about because they just wanted to take drugs. They just wanted to drink alcohol.
Right.
So you have a lot of people like that. And a lot of people, and depending on where you are in cities, didn't even serve, but have on a military uniform, a military coat, just for the sympathy to say, hey, I need. And that's why, like, I never try to judge. You know, if I'm gonna give something, I'm gonna give it. I ain't even trying to get your background and all that other stuff. But people will play on that. And like here in this area, I know for a fact that, because I, used to work with one of them that works at the Temple VA, where if you are homeless and you're a veteran, they will house you in the back. And so when they come out there talking about homeless veteran, this, that, and other, they playing on your sympathy here.
Right.
Because I'll tell them, hey, I can take you to Temple and you have a place to stay. They'll feed you. But then they say no, because they aren't there for that purpose. They're there for your sympathy and to try to gain income.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, that's the other side of that. I'm going to throw up this question Charlotte Jordan put up there, and that is more of a statement. It is a statement. She says some people work from home because the economy is high and they can't afford childcare. What do you guys say to this?
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Last time I checked, childcare is like $800 a month.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that expensive. I was blown away. Here I am thinking $10 an hour, $5 an hour, No, I'm being honest, right? Because I don't have kids. I don't know. And then I hear some of these people are $1,000, and I'm like, wait a minute. What?
You also get what you pay for.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find some spots that'll charge you $100 a week.
See, my kids had me.
Antoine, check this out.
That's another perk of working hybrid or working at home if you got grandkids. Like Roland just said, his grandkids got him.
Here's something that a lot of people don't know about daycare too. The daycares give you holidays, right? So basically, like when we were trying to put my daughter in daycare a dozen years ago or almost, we go in and we interview with this place and like, oh yeah, we'd be happy to have Emma. She only gets a week's vacation though which is basically a week that I get out of 52 that I don't have to pay. But I was in the military. I get tons of time off, right? So days that I'm going to, we get a 4-day weekend and a 3-day weekend every month. So I'm going to pull my daughter out. I already know rolling into this thing, no less than 3 days. I'm not every month, right? So you add that up over the course of the year. What's that come out to? That's 36, right? So 36 days that I know for a fact my kid's not going to be there. I still have to pay for those 36 days. Right. Then I get 2 weeks off at Christmas. I know my daughter's not going to be there. So there's 10 more days, right, that I now have to pay. So 46 days that I'm required to pay for my daughter to be at daycare when I'm not going to be there. Now let's add in, maybe I take a 2-weeker in the summer, right? So now we're up to 66 days. So I have to pay this daycare for two months and a week for me to just do basic math daycare is ridiculous. And they put this thing on there because they have so many slots. They're only allowed so many people, and they have to lock that thing in to guarantee their bottom line. They have to schedule those folks out. So yeah, a lot of parents will have to pay for days that their kids don't attend daycare. That's
around here at Fort Hood, the schools as well as the daycares, when they know the military is off, they sending them kids home. But everybody's not military. So that affects people who aren't military. They got to find somewhere to put their kids. Because now I got to go to work, but the kid's out because the military Fort Hood is off. So they would always have to find somewhere to send their kids.
Man. Yeah. What backed up system?
It just is the system. There's no happy way to do it. Right. It's not that it's good or bad, but that's the way that it exists. And then it doesn't exist that way everywhere because not everybody's in the military. But when you have large military populations like that, the people that aren't military suffer. When you have small military populations, again, inside of places that aren't, then the military suffers. Like there's no way to make it perfect for everybody. It exists in microcosms.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on this, Dr. Easley? If you have any.
I mean, I think I don't have any like opposing views of that. But it does make me think about the world that we're in. Today now it'd be a little privilege coming from me speaking this, but the fact that we have to depend on childcare. I remember there was I was raised by my grandparents. So being able to have, it's like a lot of things have affected the family structure too, and made it so that people have to pay for child care instead of being able to, work within at home, and of course also not all families are great, so you got that too. But, I do think that, I respect those people, everyone who has the situation who works from home, because of childcare. But I still think that even some of that is an effect of what's going on in our society. The fact that we don't have elders, or that people, that the families are either broken, or something that Antoine said earlier, that we're not healthy enough, so we're not living longer either. So we also don't have, our elders who can, people care for their elders. You got that too, but then also elders who can, who we can show the respect and the honor and still have it, where the babies who are in one state of life and the elders who are in similar states, can, come together. So to me, it's not just about the money and stuff like that. This is about something that's bigger social going on.
I think a lot of that stems from the destruction of the multi-generational household. The United States
exactly.
Well, the U.S. is one of the only countries that does not have a role, or that does not encourage multi-generational households, right?
But there you go, right there. Here you go, and then keep going. What role does the family structure play in this topic?
In the United States, or at least in Western culture, at 18, you're to get your behind out of mom and dad's house and start building your own life, rather than taking any money that you would have paid for rent or for this or for that, to keep that money inside of the family and build that wealth structure. Can you imagine if mom and dad have a family home, you got your own bedroom, brother's got your own bedroom, sister's got her own bedroom, and at 25, all three of you guys are still living at home stacking paper? Okay, so you want to get away from mom and dad and let mom and dad have their place. Well, now you and your brother go get a place, or maybe you, your brother, and your sister go get a place, right? So we've created that large family unit. The thing about it is that is the exact thing that is encouraged in
Other
I'll just say
cultures.
it, Saudi Arabia. You build as a family, right? You build like, multi-families live in homes, and they combine their wealth, and they combine their buying power, and they buy the next better thing and the next better thing. And as they grow and they grind together, right, the wives all take care of their kids. They all go out to work. They keep having more kids, and then the kids go do the exact same thing, right? And it's a family structure that works. And I'm here for it. But here in the United States, a lot of us, especially for the last couple of generations, had been basically since World War II, we've been sold a bad bill of goods. You have to own a home. You have to go buy a place. You have to start your own family for a little while. And then in the 70s, we decided some of you shouldn't have families, right? Or at least the full family. So we're going to change the math on that. And we're going to push real hard on this thing, right? Oh, not everybody's making it. So here, let's just start feeding the animals. And it's a bad structure. It's a bad deal. We've all been sold. Anybody born since 1944 has been sold a bad bill of goods.
Wow.
What role does the family structure play in this topic?
I think it plays a major role, but people don't like to play their role. So whereas me, I'm a grandfather. When I was young, raised by my grandmother, so in our house, it was exactly as Dustin said, because it was a multi-family household. So, but the grown people, when you put your money together, you help and pay off this. And that's how I think we need to go back and do a cultural assessment and say, man, what's best for us as a whole? Because what we do is we say, okay, once you get 18, military or whatever, but you got to get out of here. And
Yeah.
that's not necessarily correct, because we send children out to the wolves and then wonder why they're getting eaten alive, because you sent them out there ill prepared. And if we had grandpa at home retired, grandma at home retired, taking care of the children instead of you paying $800, $1,000 a month outside of the house. That money stays in the house. That money stays in our pocket. Now the stress levels go down, and I got to watch kids. That means I got to get out. I got to walk around the park some. I got to do something instead of just sitting on my duff. So now I'm active, and I'm big on food now. So now we need to also think with this. I'm not feeding kids these high diabetic foods and Kool-Aid and sugars and all this other stuff. I'm trying to make it to where they can last longer than I did. So it has an impact on more than just the health and the wealth, but the mentality. Now they grow up with a sense of responsibility to be respectful and respectable in front of adults.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point, man. Like you having the ability to be able to stay at home and be a part of your grandkids' life. Like a lot of people don't do that. And if we talking about family structure and some of it now, do we have a lot of single women out there that are raising kids? So that plays a huge part. Like Charlotte Jordan said, it's like daycare is high. You can't afford to go and work at the local bank. You know what I mean? Good, bad, or indifferent, or why are you in this situation, that's irrelevant to this conversation. But you've got, a child who's sick or something like that. Like I remember, back in the day, when in my first marriage, my wife and my ex-wife lost her job, right? And she lost her job because we had three sons who kept getting sick. One got sick one day, and then he was sick for a couple of days. So when a child gets sick, Antoine, let me tell you what happens. First of all, if they're in daycare, they got to leave daycare or in school. And a lot of times they got to be out for at least 24 hours.
But sick
So
as cold, right?
like a cold or something like
Okay.
that, right? So now day one, say for instance Monday. So now you got to take off work on Monday, right? You may or may not get an appointment on Tuesday, right? So hopefully, if you're lucky, you can get one on Tuesday. So now you just missed 2 days of work right there. And what if the child is still sick and still having symptoms, and you can't really take them back to daycare yet? Now you just missed 3 days of work, right? And then now in the next week, the other one gets sick. And then 4 days after that, the no one gets sick. And next thing you know, you just lost 10 days of work just because of your kids getting sick. You ain't even had your cold yet. You know what I'm saying? So for them, if you got 3 kids or something like that, maybe it's better for maybe mom to stay at home and maybe work a remote job or something like that, while maybe dad is going out there and, you know, pounding the pavement or doing something like that. Or maybe he's working from home, you know, and they're alternating shifts dealing with the kids or something like that. But, you know, the family structure that we have now and the type of jobs and stuff like that, like Roland saying, like, we didn't, you know, back in the day, wasn't no big daycare bills and stuff like this. A lot of times kids went and stayed with auntie or grandma or somebody like that. Now everybody's working and everybody needs to work, whether it's the chicken or the egg. Everybody needs to work. Everybody's having kids. Kids got to be in daycare so you can go and work. You know, so it's like a cycle and it's hard to get out of it. So the family structure definitely plays a huge part in how and what type of jobs you can and can't work. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask something. My mom. I was talking to my mom just the other day, and she went to one of our branch family. They had like a family reunion, and it was like 100 people there. You know, you had her cousins. That's her age. They're in the 70s. Their kids that are my age in the 40s. Their kids who are, I guess, in the 20s. Then some of them have kids too. You know, and so you know, and but this was one times, even though. Now, I'm not here to shame, but you have children that had them early or later in life, nothing like that. But you know, it's kind of like where you know we don't, I don't have any, you know, my own, you know, the biological children. But this was one of the first times when my mom put that in my face because I don't. Okay. Because you know, because when she was thinking about, you know, because we started talking about what is our family doing. Now, I'm not up here, families down here. I don't mean it like that, but I was like, man. I was like, unfortunately, let's say for me, because I didn't start young, I'm in my 40s now, you know, more looking like I'm not, you know, but, you know, who knows? But, you know, I have a job. I got like multiple skills. I've worked around the world, worked in this, and that place. So it's like, here goes some of the benefits of that, right? And we were looking at our family, while, yes, they have children and, you know, and grandchildren. But when we start thinking about jobs and skills, you know, and what they'd be able to do and what they're doing right now, you know, so now that becomes an actual discussion too. You know, it's like, you know, like, because some people are having children. Should they be having children? You know, it's like, you know, they bring in, you know, like, you know, folks into the world, but they don't have like, you know, like their life together, you know. And so that's where our discussion went. So I also can see how family structure can affect that too. Or not great decisions, you know, can affect it. But like I said, also, you know, speak from, you know, I acknowledge the privilege or whatever, you know, of being educated, you know, and doing a number of things too. So like I said, that's why I'm not saying I'm here and they're there. It's just, you know, like just paying attention to the different of the dynamics, what people have access to, you know, and what people are able to do, you know, utilize.
According to Doctor, I agree with that, with what he just said, because you know, if I read this correctly, what you're asking is what role does the family structure play in the topic? I'm trying to wrap my head around this because, right, I was growing up. I was, like I said, I grew up with knowing everybody has a father. I don't even think I remember the baby mama thing, right? I didn't grow up in that environment. And to hear what we're talking about here in the United States and all this sort of stuff, the family structure, according to what we're talking about, is majorly important to have a father and mother at home, to be in contact with your immediate family, because you can't do this alone. And the ones that do this alone, the children are the ones that pay the price from all what we're talking about right now. And it's very disheartening to hear the breakdown of the family structure because of the situation you're in. So it would do people or women or men to see where you're at personally before you go ahead. Because like what Dustin was saying, I mean, the bills that you pay when you're not in daycare, out of daycare, you got to go to work, you're in the army, you still got to pay for it. You can't do that alone. You can't.
See, and that's what, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And that's why the family structure is so important, because when I grew up, you know, I was under my grandmother, but my mom, you know, she was on drugs. my father, he was on drugs coming out of Vietnam and everything. So what happened is I'm being sort of raised by and this is my great grandmother. I'm just being watched. I'm not being raised. So now when I'm a knucklehead because I don't know how to deal with the hurts coming from my parents, coming from my mother, them in their situation, I don't know how to deal with that as a young teen. So now start having children, 14 years old. So now it's like, okay, now a cycle is about to start. And that's why I had enough sense to say, man, I got to get up out of here. I had to leave Detroit. I had to join the military. Didn't know what was what. I knew I needed to get away from here because I could look around me and see what was going on. So the family structure was already dissipated. And now if I stay in that environment, I continue in that vein. I do the same thing. I think the same way because they put it's a box. I don't care what poor community you in, whether it's a ghetto or whether it's a doggone whatever. It's a box.
You can say trailer park.
There you go, trailer park. It's a box. They put you there and they want to keep you there, and they keep you there with your thinking because when they can train your parents to think a negative way about themselves, that's going to trickle down onto the children for the most part. And then that's where you're going to be. So now you look at these kids now and say, man, they crazy. Now it's a cumulative thing where they have been getting more and more crazy as they go. If the parents don't change or the children don't see it for what it is and get out of that environment.
And you're right.
Part of it has to do with the age when people are having kids. Like I had my first son at 19. Roland had his at 14. We became grandparents early. I was 40, I think. 40 or 41 when I had my first. My dad, I think, was 32 I was grandfather. 32. So like 32, Roland's still working. You know what I mean? A 32-year-old grandfather still working. He can't be there. A lot back in the day, I didn't know any of my biological grandfathers. I never knew them, right? So I never sat on my grandfather's lap and you know what I mean? We played games, none of that. My mom never knew her dad. And then on my dad's side, his dad died when he was a teenager. So I didn't grow up with a grandfather. I did grow up with a grandfather named Paul, which was my grandma's second husband. But I was around him some and stuff like this. But I didn't get taught certain things growing up about, you know what I mean, the family structure and stuff like that. So because I didn't get certain things, I didn't pass certain things along. Like we say, get out the house at 18. That's what I pretty much did to my oldest son, who's 28. Exactly. But now I have a 21-year-old who's still at home, but he's figuring it out. And now he's talking about going into the military. You know, he cut his hair off yesterday, so he's ready to go. You know, neither one of my sons got dreads no more. They just cut them off over the last couple of weeks, so they ready to go. You know what I mean? But you know, the type of work they're going to be doing is they're going into the military, so they're going to be working in person. You know, but back to the family structure is, you know, into like what Roland was saying, I was taught kind of sort of, not taught, but it was kind of thought that when I turned 18, I graduated high school, you need to get out of the house and you go do something. You know what I mean? And then I passed that along. You know what I mean? So my sons may do the same thing because, you know, like Coach said before, a lot of times and I think Roland, I've heard it said before too, is that we, a lot of times parent the way we were parented. Not all the time, but sometimes we do, because that's where a lot of time what we learn from, good, bad, or indifferent, you know? So structure does play a huge part in this topic.
And it does, because I can't tell you enough. Like when I got into trouble, it was trouble, but nothing made me feel more home knowing I was loved, right? I was loved and I knew I was loved. So I had that to fall back on and say, hey, you know what? My father really don't want me to do this. My mom really don't want me to do this. And I can see the disappointment in their eyes. Having that love from my parents really made me stay in a straight line more than the average folk. Because when you know you're loved, you got something to fall back on. And like Roland says, he went to find himself and said, wait a minute, I got to get out of here because I'm not loved over here. So
actually, you think you're loved.
Right.
You just have a different view of what love is,
right.
And it may not be correct because
and it's sad because you weren't given the tools and the knowledge of love to make you make the right decisions or help you make the right decisions. And so
Antoine, I knew a bunch of
go ahead.
I knew a bunch of kids when I was growing up who were absolutely loved, cherished, and adored by their parents, right? Who grew up to be complete asshats.
True.
Right? Your parents loved you correctly.
Right.
And that's the important thing. And it's not just that they loved you, it's that they gave you they gave you boundaries, they gave you expectations, they instilled things in you that made you
Structure.
who you are. They structured their
That's
love.
it.
So yeah, like
And
that,
you had
again,
you had an example. You had someone to model that for you too.
Right.
yeah. So again, the love is not the only answer, because, like I say, I know a bunch of asshats who their parents just absolutely adored them and gave them no boundaries, and they continued their entire life still to this day to be asshats.
No,
Real
you're right.
quick,
But I'm talking about really good structured love, like structured love where there's rules, discipline. There's consequences to your actions. You have no choice but to take risks. That's the kind of love I'm talking about, and that's so important. Like you guys speak of not having, and then ending up like, I'm going to join the army to get away from that shit. Like, whoa.
that plays into an admin note real quick that I need to drop so I don't get canceled. There's two sides to every waffle. As hard as I went on society early on in the opening statements of this question, I do want to point out the fact that in present day, everybody wants to be held until it's accountable. So there is a large portion of us that have been encouraged by social media and society and pop music and hip hop and video games or whatever the fuck you want to blame it on. Sorry, it's not in the first 30 seconds, so you won't be demonetized. But yeah, we have to take accountability for the fact that, like, we as people, we've decided that, you know what, promiscuity is probably our best bet, right? We're just going to go out and be promiscuous, and we're going to do all these things. And we're telling young guys that they got to find girls. Male loneliness is at the highest that it's ever been. The amount of people that are actually in relationships is scary low. And when's the last time you went to a barbecue or a cookout or a big family event where the small children outnumbered the adults there?
Oh my! Don't even ask me that one. I'm done.
So that's a thing too. So we can zoom out just a little bit and realize that there's a lot more things taking place here than just the collapse of the multi-generational family. That's long gone. We've lost the family. Right?
Yeah.
We are living through the end of the family. So that's all I got. Gentlemen, I have to go. Okay. It has been a fantastic time with all of you. I love every single one of you. Always a pleasure to be in the company of great men. Gentlemen, you all have a fantastic night. And I'll be looking for the instant replays.
All right, man. Have a good one.
With
that being, go ahead, Antoine.
It sickens me. Like, that's what I'm saying. It just sickens me, all this single parent home shit. Like you're making such stupid decisions to go out and raise a child up by yourself and not giving it the proper upbringing it needs, right? Because then history repeats itself. But then you're looking for change, and you're looking for government handouts, and you're blaming society for your demise when you're the one. Well, blame the guy in the mirror or the woman in the mirror. It just sickens me to see that. Because I as careless as I was, I never wanted to make that mistake and have a child out of wedlock and do all that shit, and just to say I want to be loved or feel like a parent. And believe me, you're looking at a guy that wanted kids, and at one time I'm thinking maybe I should just make that mistake and have one. But then I thought, no, I really want to be right the first time, and I think that's so missing in society today.
All of those thoughts that you have right now, most kids that's making those decisions don't think like that. And that's why they make the decision that they make.
So,
that's the reality of it. Roland didn't think like that at 14. I didn't think like that at 19. Made him at 18, had him at 19. We're not thinking about none of that stuff. Roland said he was raised by his grandfather.
Right.
My father wasn't around 9th through 12th grade years. So it's like there was like no, I told you earlier that I didn't have grandfathers in my life. So I didn't have anybody teaching me or telling me what you got. So because I didn't get that information, I made the choices that I made, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah. And it's funny because I can't blame anybody. I can't blame the child.
Yeah.
I can't blame the.
Can't blame anybody.
No.
And there's nobody to blame anyway. But here's the good thing about it though. You know what I mean? It wasn't even a bad thing. Like I don't look at that as like any mistakes or anything. Like I became a grandfather at like I said, 40 or 41 years old. Like I'm still young, I'm active, like rolling. We can go and we can physically play with our grandkids. You know what I mean? We ain't got to be there. Come on, baby. Like, go with your granddaddy with the phone. We don't got to do that. Like we can be an active participant in our grandparents' life. So yeah, we had children early, we had kids early. Then also we became grandfathers and grandparents early. And we can be around longer too. You know, in theory. You know what I mean? A lot of time dudes had grandparents 10, 5 years, 5, 10, 15 years. And then granddaddy, you know, when you met granddaddy, he was already 70. You know what I mean? When you meet Grandpa Roland and Grandpa Martin, like it's different, you know. We can do stuff with them. So even though you know we made those decisions early, I think you know the flip side of that is man, like it's good because we get to participate in our grandkids' life and we get to be around here a lot longer. And we'll probably make 4 and 5 generations. You know what I mean? We'll be able to see our great grandkids one day.
That's not the
Because
norm.
we started so early. So like I said, there's another side of it too. Huh?
Yeah. No, generally speaking, that's not the norm though.
Yeah, it's not.
Right.
So that's why I think in a way, I think I'm more fortunate in some ways than some of the past generations because I did have my kids so early, especially my oldest one who's 28. You know, I had him at 19.
Right.
My oldest granddaughter will be 7 in February, and I got another one that'll be 2 next month. So it's like I'm kind of winning. I'm kind of winning right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what you think, Roland?
Oh, I'm loving it because think about it. I'm able to, like tomorrow, I have a grandson playing, you know, freshman football. So I get to go see him. Had another grandson, he's playing football, one in Houston, one in San Antonio playing football. Cheerleader, I'm teaching, she's in the 9th grade. I'm teaching her how to drive. I cut the boys' hair. You know, I get to spend time where I can talk to, where I can help mold minds, not just where I'm sitting on the porch whittling or, you know, trying to find my teeth.
But you guys understand, you're very fortunate, and it's not the norm. But you wouldn't recommend that to everybody. You wouldn't recommend.
No, I wouldn't recommend it. But and everybody,
you wouldn't say, "Hey, go out and have a kid at 14," or have you know. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think that it kind of forced me into a certain level of maturity, and everybody don't get forced into that. They go the other route where they are neglectful. So that's one of those. It's a two-sided coin, and one that I wouldn't say anybody just jump into it. No, don't do that until you're ready, because I think that manhood and fatherhood is a job. It's not something that you just jump into because it's like McDonald's, a part-time thing.
Totally agree, man. Wow, I love this. This is unbelievable.
Hey man, I ain't even gonna do no final thoughts. I think that was good enough right there with Roland said, man. That was he summed it up, man. So I appreciate that, man. So with that being said, gentlemen, man, if y'all don't have anything else to say, actually, let me give the floor to anybody have anything else to say before we do close out.
Yeah, I think that there's something about choice and maturation. You listening to what Brother Roland just said, right? You know, and then even how he also answered Brother Antoine. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest it. The circumstances of my actions, you know, have led to me living life a certain way, but look at the king he is now. You see what I'm saying? Like he's taking care of his family, like double fold. You know what I'm saying? He has all of his faculties. You know, he's served the country. You know, he's getting. I definitely think, you know, what he deserves. He should still, I probably should be getting more. You know, but who knows? You know, I mean, just, you know, based on the service and all. But the fact that he made the choice, you see, and I think that to me that reminds me that still in the end, regardless of what life throws at us, because sometimes life throws things at us and sometimes we throw things back at life. But when life throws things at us, what I'm learning from Brother Roland and from you, you know, well, and from Antoine too, you know, but especially, you know, from the two fathers, is you called it and you started running with it. You didn't call it and fumble, catch it and fumble. And I think that regardless of whether we're hybrid, in person, or where we're working remotely, you can't fumble the opportunity. And you have to be mindful of what's going on in our society. It's like, I mean, one thing I learned, one thing this conversation's done for me is the other ones inspire me. And I'm like, yeah, this one taught me. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm learning about the military and what you brothers have given. Some would say sacrifice, or maybe given, or both, but thank you for that. And I'm learning also about housing, listening to, listening to Dustin and business and stuff. And so in the end, you still have to be mindful of what you invest in, what you invest your time in, your money in. And if you're not disciplined, and if you're not managing yourself well, it don't matter if you're a hybrid in person or at home, you're not going to last. And the other thing that I learned is that the technology, and this is just my opinion, I know some may say conspiracy. I don't think it's conspiracy. I think that it's a reality. I think that AI is created intentionally to cancel people out. I think that the pandemic in many ways was used to bring, like to turn our society around, and definitely changed our currency, and is still doing things with that too. I mean, I'm mindful of that kind of stuff. So I do believe that multiple things were happening. I'm saying, no, people lost lives and all. But what I'm saying is that if you're not healthy, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not connecting to the resources that you have near you, if you're not loving your family, if you're not loving yourself, no matter what 3 categories of work you're talking, you're going to fall. Please get your priorities straight. Okay, and take care of yourselves and take care of your families, because there is some energy or force out here that is pushing us to go the opposite way. And I think that our society is showing us that. So I thank you for having brothers that I could look to and go, shoot, not only did they do it, they still doing it, and they excelled, and they didn't let society or circumstances stop them from doing what they needed to do. Maybe it could have caused a pause, maybe a little bit of damn, but what it didn't do is it didn't break you. And even if it broke you, you put yourself back together. And I think that, to me, that's what I walk away with, is that you can still do something for yourself, even with what's going on in this world. So I just want to thank y'all for showing that. I know I spoke too long.
No, you was good, brother. Antoine, Dope Rolling, y'all good? All right. Well, we will appreciate everybody being here tonight. Appreciate you, gentlemen. Appreciate the Wolfpack being here tonight. Always good to spend time with you, brothers, man. Definitely always look forward to Wednesday night. Next week, we will be back with another show topic, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be talking about behind the scenes, the untold truth about entrepreneurship.
Uncle Junior, I'm getting my points ready. I'm so ready for that talk next week.
Oh, yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, I'm talking about positive energy, but I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to share what I done learned in the last 12 years and the last 3 years in particular. Bro, it's a lot of myths that have been broken for me. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next week.
Yeah, the untold truth behind it. This is going to be, that one is going to be, I'm going to be sitting back here and I'm going to be learning. You know what I mean? I'm very fortunate, and I'm very interested into that one. So with that being said, gentlemen, I appreciate y'all again. We'll see y'all next week. We out.